The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went away quickly from the tomb, fearful yet overjoyed, and ran to announce the news to his disciples. And behold, Jesus met them on their way and greeted them. They approached, embraced his feet, and did him homage. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." While they were going, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests all that had happened. The chief priests assembled with the elders and took counsel. Then they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers, telling them, "You are to say, 'His disciples came by night and stole him while we were asleep. And if this gets to the ears of the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble.'" The soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed. And this story has circulated among the Jews to the present day. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. I don't know, many a time I've kind of looked at this Gospel and thought, okay, right, what's the point? Do you know, does it move the narrative at all? And the first Gospel after Easter, I mean, what sense does this make? Except that it follows on, from the discovery of the empty tomb, right? And of course the women's excitement and so on and so forth. And I said, well, maybe it's just an apologetic passage, right? Or at least it sits up well for us to talk about the fact of the empty tomb, the fact of Jesus's appearance to the disciples, the fact of the rise of the early church, none of which can be explained in any kind of coherent way without the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. So is this an apologetic about the resurrection? And we could drill down on any number of those details. I mean, even the story here that circulates among the Jesus movement's early opposition, itself speaks to the empty tomb. Right? There's not denying the empty tomb, right? And I don't know. There's more in here. The fact that the women are the witnesses. Right? We all know. No, I'm not going to say that. In the first century. I mean, women's testimony in the first century would not have been admissible. And that's not just like, that's just a fact of the court. Do you know, like it's just part of procedure or something. Not so. It's part of procedure as it relates to testimony in a court case because of the general sense of women's testimony beyond that. And here, they're the first witnesses. You don't make up a story like that. You only make up a story like this if you want it to be trashed and ridiculed. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense except that's how it happened, right? And so on and so forth, right? But I think this passage is not primarily apologetic. It's not. That's to have it answer questions that we bring to it. But what does this passage want to say of its own accord? It's different, right? Because here, when Jesus meets the women, what is the interaction like? He doesn't say, "Look, doesn't this prove that I turned out to be God? Like that I was God all the while." Think of some of the more apologetic narratives that we have in our heads about what Jesus's resurrection means, and then think. They don't show up in this story. The first encounter that Jesus is having with his women followers, what does he say? He doesn't say, "Go tell the disciples I was God after all." It's not. It doesn't. I forget some of the other narratives because I try to not hold on to them anymore. But I've heard that one, right? Jesus turned out to be God. This from yesterday. Some of this from the resurrection itself, right? Is many a Jew believed that at the end of the age, there would be a resurrection. And that will be God's great putting. But he's doing it anew. Now, with launching his reign, his kingdom, in power and glory. It's the resurrection. And the resurrection life that he gives his followers to pull forward, as it were, that great project of God's renewal, so that his people are about the restoration and renewal of the entire world. Now, okay, so we have that. What else happens in this passage? Opposition, right? The chief priests assembled with the elders, took counsel. They bribed the soldiers, tell them this is the story, we'll defend you if it gets to the top, right? The resurrection is a lot to deal with. And we have to not just intuit that, that has to go through us. Because you have the old order that is that runs on pride and retribution, rumbling on, right? The old creation, marred by the rule of sin and death, rumbles on. And in the middle of time, against the backdrop of the old creation, here God begins a new creation. And guess what? This is not just the story of the first century. This is the past 2,000 years, and we're surrounded by it, and sometimes we give ourselves to it. The idea is that let's just keep it the way it was. There's a new creation, right, in the middle of time, but we'll stick with the old. We'll stick with the old. It's safer. We've got the divisions all marked out, and we're all fit in our right place, and I'm pretty comfortable where I am. So I don't want to rustle. I don't want to make a stir. All the rest. So I'm going to ignore that. So that was something else. It wasn't the beginning of a new creation. Once you see it, God has launched his new creation. Now you're summoned to it, and you have to live by its way, which is not pride and retribution. It's love and forgiveness and mercy. And even if you just hold on to those things, can we have love and forgiveness and mercy work their way out in my heart and life, in the lives of my relationships, and then beyond, right? The community, the state, the country, the world, whatever. I mean, where are we committed to this project? I know we are. We have to be. Globally, where are we in the new creation? Maybe we're still, like some of the theologians of a few decades ago would say, we're still in the early church. Maybe so. Maybe so, because how far have we gotten with this forgiveness project? So many of our problems today, so many of our societal problems are problems where we haven't applied forgiveness. We haven't worked our butts off for forgiveness. And we need to, because God has launched his new creation, and he's summoned us to himself, and he's empowered us to take on the task. And it doesn't matter if everybody around us thinks that the old one is just fine. Thank you very much. No, we've got to go, because Jesus is risen from the dead, and his kingdom has come. He rules now, and he's empowering us to bring about his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven.